being a servant. And so many, when we come out of the churchianity, we've been told forever, oh, we want to sit at the feet of the Messiah and just forever soak up his knowledge. And again, if it came from the church, it's a lie. And so what you're really saying is, I'm going to sit at your feet. In other words, take care of me completely, because I don't want to do a thing. I just want to sit here and learn. You feed me. You take care of me. You do everything. And, you know, I'm just becoming a burden so I can learn something. That's really what you're saying. You don't think that's what you're saying, but that's the reality of what you're really saying. We go back to servants. And so, but to try to get the same mentality from that, if you work in the household, and there are all these rules for servant and getting Hebrew servants, that applies to the Messiah as well. In other words, we can sell ourselves to the Messiah. And that's the best place to be. Let's assume for a moment that you work in the dining room. And, you know, I'm the type of person, I worked as a waiter a lot of my life. I'm very happy doing that. It's actually a very rewarding type of job for me. If I were able to be in the dining room as a waiter for the Messiah, think of what you would learn. Now, again, the servant, what do we hear about this? Now, let's kind of go through. And I can go back to Ezekiel 46, where he makes a gift of his inheritance to one of his servants, and that he keeps it until the year of Jubilee, and then it reverts to the prince, because he can take care of those who are working for him. But let's look at Luke 17. This is interesting. Luke 17:7. Suppose one of you has a servant plowing or looking after the sheep. Will he say to the servant when he comes in from the field, come along now and sit down to eat? Won't he rather say, prepare my supper, get yourself ready and wait on me while I eat and drink. After that you may eat and drink. Will he thank the servant because he did what he was told to do? See, you also, when you have done everything you were told to do, should say, we are unworthy servants. We've only done our duty. And so, and Exodus 21 talks about the Hebrew servant. You know, you buy him and you keep him for 6 years. In the 7th year, he goes free. However, there's an issue where he can actually declare with the piercing of an awl through the doorpost of his ear that he wants to remain a servant forever. And I think that's really the great desire of us, to be the servant of the Messiah. Because let's think about this rationally. When we go back for the millennial reign, the great leaders, you know, the Moses in our midst, we're not Moses. We're not going to be Paul. These great positions have already been taken. So where could we be to learn the most? You know, if you are in the Messiah's household, you're going to actually hear him speak. And I think probably the greatest thing is, you know, over dinner. Because he's having people over and he'll be having these huge dinner parties. And, you know, and maybe it's just you get to work as a waiter in the temple. And that would be amazing. I mean, just utterly amazing. You could be in there and learn so much. You're working, you're giving them food and drink and making sure they're taken care of. But at the same time, you're overhearing conversations. And that's just like the ultimate job to have, is to have something like that. I'm fine. So to me, that's the job to have. I mean, if he's got people in his family there, what's he going to do at dinner? Is he going to be talking to them about the Torah and giving them greater insight? I think certainly he would. And imagine you're just sitting there as the waiter, and while you're doing your job, you're actually getting all this great information that will just help you out. And maybe he'll keep you as that waiter for all eternity, where you could just to get that close to soaking up. You know, the issue is if you're one of the people in his household, he's going to remember you. And I hate saying it this way, but I think of the slaves during, you know, the 1700s and 1800s. And there was a differentiation between the field slave and the house slave, because the house slave was held in a higher esteem. He dealt with them all the time. The master dealt with them So you could be, because we're all going to be servants. So do we want to be servants in the land who are working to bring things in? Or do we want to be the people in his household when he says, hey, you know, I have an inheritance. Let me give you an inheritance because I know you. I think of the movie Gone with the Wind with Mammy and, you know, Rhett Butler with Clark Gable and how he loved Mammy. He talked to her all the time. Again, it was slave ownership in the movie Gone with the Wind. But he knew Mammy. He loved Mammy. And wouldn't you like to be that position where you're close enough to see him every day? I mean, that would be an amazing thing. Now, the other thing is, if we look at this, you know, the servant has a higher position than you even really think, because like in Abraham, when he said, you know, I don't have children, and he goes, you know, I'll make you the father of many nations. He goes, I don't have children. Everything I have is going to go to one of my servants. So, you know, it's that close. It's that close. So he would have been dealing with the servant he deals with the most. So to be that servant in the household is just this incredible job. I mean, an amazing idea of a job to do something like that. Just a thought that I've had, and hopefully, you know, I think of Jessica, who wants to be a servant in the household to take care of the horses. And again, you know, so she would get him one-on-one when he goes out there to look at the horses. Excuse me. And he would talk to her as he's dealing with the horses. So that's an amazing thing. Again, these little jobs that we could do in that household where we have interaction with the Messiah. What an amazing thought.